Hey, what's going on, world? It's your boy, Robbie Joe. On today's episode, we're going to be breaking down my live stream setup. Let's get into it.
You are now tuned in to the Robbie Joe Experience. Let's learn, create, and inspire.
Alrighty, welcome back, and I thank you all for joining. Just to give you a bit of a backstory, I'm a Miami-based content creator doing photography and videography, and prior to Corona taking place, schedule was a little bit more busy, so I didn't really have too much time to commit to this like I am now. But as Corona has came into our lives and gave us that time that we needed to sit down and tend to other things, I took it upon myself to finally put this thing in motion, which I always had ideas and aspirations to create my own talk show. So I figured out what other time's better than now. So fast forward, I've been running this show for about a month now, broadcasting on Facebook every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. and just working on getting in front of the camera, connecting with my audience, and just having fun as well. You know, it's been a fun process. So let's go ahead and break this video down into 4 segments: the software I use, the hardware I use, the actual workflow, and my overall experience. As far as software, in no particular order, I'm using the OBS software, I'm using ATEM switcher software, I'm using Photoshop, I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro, and I'm also using Anchor FM. I'm using the OBS software to actually send that signal to Facebook, and then it also gives me a file that I can use for later. With that file, I go ahead and I import it into Premiere Pro. Once I'm in Premiere Pro, I just go ahead and rip it to an MP3, and that's what I use to upload to the podcast, which is going to be distributed through Anchor FM, which allows it to go to many different platforms through one source. It's a done deal. I'm using Photoshop to also create the graphics needed for the show, and these are just the software I use. I know it's a bit of overkill, but hey, when in Rome, right? So let's go ahead and break down what I use as far as the hardware. The camera of choice is going to be my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I'm using my MacBook laptop. I'm also using my iMacs in the back with an additional monitor just to kind of build a set here and, you know, just keep the graphics going. I'm also using the ATEM Mini Switcher. I'm using the Rodecaster Pro, of course. I'm also using the Cam Link. As far as my lighting, I'm using the SL60 with the GODOX modifier as my key light. I have a YUNHNOY360 in the back here, which is giving off this blue light here. I use an additional light that's over here, nothing too fancy, but it just kind of gives me a little feel right here. I also have a portable monitor here, which allows me to see it a little bigger, because once you have all this on your screen, it does get a little cluttered. So I put the different programs in different places so I can monitor everything. As far as microphone, I'm using this Zingyou BM80. I mean, I do have other mics, but when I plugged this in, it worked the first time, and I didn't want to move it around no more. I just left it as is, so that's that. And I'm also just using this other monitor right here to just watch the actual feed and see what's going on, so I can check everything before I send it off. And yeah, that's that. Now, I know there are going to be some people that jump in the comments and say, well, why don't you just get the actual recording from the ATEM? I can do that, and I could also just record to the Blackmagic directly, but I started this way. I kind of like it. I'm just going to run with it. Don't at me. So now let's go ahead and jump into the workflow. I use Photoshop to create the graphics, will be that intro and exit title card. Sometimes I also create the show topics and just put that on social media to kind of give the people, you know, the topics so they can, you know, get their thoughts and comments together so they can join the conversation later. I use OBS to launch the stream itself. I use Facebook as the platform for the broadcast. So when you're going live, you just get the stream key, go to OBS, import that stream key there. Once it's all synced and ready to go, you just hit start live on OBS. Then Facebook receives that signal, and then you go from there, and that's how you start that show. One of the coolest features of the workflow is having the Rodecaster Pro, which allows me to, you know, use these sound pads right here in different ways. I have different little sounds that's queued up to it. So we get the bomb drop, we get applause, we get a little jingle music, and I have a few other things set up. I also have my phone connected to it, which allows me to take those phone calls. Just went on Google Voice, got a phone number, listed it up there, and that way when people want to interact or just join the conversation, they can. It's pretty cool. So overall, it's been fun for me to just do this, connect with the people, practice working on doing the show, understanding the production side of it, and also just dealing with the people, giving them something different to look at during this time. I've realized the complexity of what it takes to do this versus being the one producing, to actually being the one in the seat dealing with the pressure. And there's been times, I fumbled. There's been times that the stream has just dropped mid-broadcast, and it's just been like, but just understanding the workflow, I think it's allowed me to level up. It's allowed me to make use of this time and give myself something to commit to and something to continue to do throughout the time. And by no means do you have to do this full extent to have your own. I just have all of this because I work in production, so why not go over the top? It's something that's been very dear to me for a long time, that I've been putting off for so long, so I wanted it to be perfect. So yes, a lot of this may be overkill. There are simpler ways to do this, but for me, this works. The people like it, and I think I'm gonna keep it going for a little while. So for you guys who made it to the end of this video, I thank you for your time. Please subscribe. Please tell a friend about the Robbie Joe Experience. And on that note, I'll see y'all later. Peace.